Hey, so this is me, Rob Pittman, your social studies teacher, not the social studies bandito that was out here earlier. Don't know where he came from. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Persian Empire and what it does for us. So first, the rise of Persia. The Persian homeland, that gets started just east of the Fertile Crescent. They got good farmland and they have minerals. Minerals lead to trade. So as they traded more, they had more cultural diffusion. They got different ideas. One of their coolest pieces of minerals they had, lapis azul or lapis lazuli, which is this blue kind of stone. You can make it into dye. All right, so about 1000 BC, in this Middle Eastern area, the Fertile Crescent area, we had two main groups. They are the Persians and the Medes, or the Medes. And so Persia, they started to gain power, and the man who did that is Cyrus. All right, so Cyrus, he is a military genius. He is so cool. They actually call him Cyrus the Great. He creates this empire that is 2,000 miles long, roughly, give or take a mile or two, right? Goes all the way from Turkey over by the Mediterranean Sea down to Israel, all the way to the Indus River. So, as part of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all the way back. Also, what Cyrus is kind of known for is some of his government reforms. First off, he said to the Jewish people, hey, we kicked you out of Israel, made you live in Babylon. Now you can go back. And they're like, oh, Cyrus, you are an anointed one. And then he also had his other government reform is whenever he took over an area, he didn't destroy their temples, burn their gods, kill and pillage, rape, murder, all that stuff. He was like, no. He went to their temple and he prayed. He said, I respect your customs, your laws, but I control you and I'm going to collect taxes because I want the money. This leads to Persian rule. The guy who takes over from Cyrus is this dude by the name of Cabius. And Cabius, Cyrus dies 530 BC. Cabius takes over and he expands the empire into Egypt. But when he did that, though, he was like, well, I'm going to burn the gods that you have. And they made great gold statues of their gods, and basically kind of took a dookie on all of their society. So when he dies in 522 BC and this other guy takes over, everybody goes into revolt. Now, this Darius is an awesome character. One of my favorite shows when I was your guys' age was Highlander, the TV series. And there was this dude who taught Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod all this stuff, and his name was Darius. And Darius was this guy, and he was an immortal, that you can only do it by taking off his head. But Darius, he was a member of the 10,000 Immortals. If you ever saw the movie 300, you might have seen them listed. Him and his buddies basically took over the Persian Empire. They quelled the rebellions, and then they expanded the empire even more. Darius took it a little bit more past Egypt, went more into Afghanistan. But he also went into the area that is now modern-day Macedonia, but he could not beat the Greeks. This is going to come up later. He could not beat the Greeks. Kind of gets under the crowd, the Persians. So Darius, he divides Persia into provinces. He basically creates a modern-day state system in the sense of Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, stuff like that. He divides Persia into 20 different provinces, and their governor is a satrap or a satrap. I don't really know how to say it. We'll just go satrap. And each province, they got to keep their own religion. They got to keep most of their own laws. They respected their customs. But ultimate authority was with the Persians. So the governor was the final say. They had a military leader who controlled the army, and they had a tax collector to collect taxes and have the money because that's what they wanted. Now, there were people known as the king's eyes and ears. And what they did was they would spy on the satraps and the military leaders and the tax collectors to make sure that everything was kosher. If you wanted me to use, a Judaism term to make it done. Now, how did he keep this empire together? Two big keys. The first one is the Royal Road. All right, this is about 1,600 odd some miles. Kind of went from Turkey all the way through the heart down to the Persian Gulf area, but it's 1,600 miles. And what was key about it was it makes for effective communication. Any royal message would take a week to go from one side to the other. They had little relay stations where a royal message could get a fresh horse, and that cut down on the amount of communication significantly. A regular caravan of like a trader could take months to do it. He also did coins, all right? And so he standardized the money system. If you standardize the money system, something I trade in Turkey, when I take it to Pakistan or Afghanistan, I'm going to get the same value for it. So it just makes everything more efficient. And this boosts trade. You can see there's a picture of Darius up over there to the right. And here's a picture on the bottom that has all of the length of their empire. Now, the Persian legacy. The Persian legacy, the main key is stability. Write that down in your notes. They had a stable government. When you have stable governments, you can make progress. If you think about American history, right? We didn't have a stable government until after the Civil War. After the Civil War, stable government, tons of progress. It makes a huge difference. They had a significant religion called Zoroastrianism, and their leader was this guy by the name of Zoroaster. All right, I'm going to go into the teachings and what their god is, but the picture on the right here, this is basically their symbol for their god, who is Ahura Mazda. And below here, this is one of their temples. They had this idea of this square temple where they pray, they meditate. Zoroaster, and tell me if this sounds familiar. He believed that life was a battle between good and evil, that there was one God, this Ahura Mazda, and that he would judge us at the end of times based on how we did in this battle between good and evil. There's a lot of similarities to a predominant religion in America today. What's also interesting about Zoroastrianism is that it transformed into some of its foundings into another god called Mithra, and then that god went into the Roman legions. That god in the Roman legions, so a Roman legionnaire, their soldier, their citizen soldier, had this single god they believed in that was born on December 25th, and had some very similarities to our Christian religion that we have in the world today. So there's some direct correlation that's pretty interesting to see and to experience. Hope you understand this. If you have any questions, send me or Mr. Downing an email. Look for the map on Persia that we're going to be sending out to you guys on the next day. Be cool, have fun, and stay in school.